Welcome to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Vern Glenn of CBS affiliate KPIX TV, and Russell Jackman. Excuse me, at each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. And today, again, we're still talking the NFL since we are still in the season.
Sure.
And then when we come back, not only do we talk about some NFL stuff, but a lot of stuff going on with the NBA. I don't think I've ever seen this many personnel changes, from the player standpoint.
And we're not done. Done.
Yeah, we're just a few days into it. Yeah.
I mean,
the season's in a month.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's funny. You think about that, like on baseball teams and even football teams where guys were switching around so much you couldn't tell who was on the team anymore. But this one, I mean, these are major players that went all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? All right, and then we'll also talk a little Colin Kaepernick. Kind of saw a little something on Yahoo this morning. I thought would be kind of interesting to talk about him. And this segment of Sports Econ 101 is still sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding over 7.5%. In fact, they've got one that is paying over 9%. 9%.
9.
Yeah. And
I want the one that gives the 100% return on a weekly basis.
Yeah, there you go.
On a weekly basis, yeah. You got to go to Vegas for that.
Okay.
They don't talk about the risks.
No.
In Vegas, I don't know. I'm sure it's still like this. When you go to the casinos, they don't have any clocks.
No. Well, they don't want you to leave.
Yeah.
And you can't tell what time it is.
Yeah.
They always try to get that light to be sort of like not super bright, but also not super dark, so you don't know what time it is either.
That's it. But you might miss your show for the Blue Man Group. Can't do that.
Well, they want you to know what time it is so that you can make it to the sports book on time and you can put your bets for the games. Other than that, they don't care what time it is at all.
But then unless they make an announcement like, attention, Las Vegas shoppers, the Virginia Cavaliers are ready to play now. I mean, how would you know, right? I mean, fortunately,
because when you're an inveterate gambler, you always know when a bet's going down.
All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Vern Glenn and Russell Jackman. Okay, first of all, the NBA question. Why do NBA players leave the Celtics? I mean, you got Al Horford, Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward. Now they just Tatum just signed it for a huge. One, but what's going on? Is that the bad GM or
half of those names? Those guys suck. I mean, Horford, I can't stand. I think he's got a terrible. His game has fallen apart in the last 3-4 years. He's of no value. Hayward never really came back from that foot injury, and he continues to get little dents and dunks.
Yeah, but just you see the contract Hayward agreed to it. Well, he's still getting paid.
Yeah,
I don't think it's worth it.
And I'm all, you have a limited amount of time to play this game at that level. So I'm one of those guys. Hey, go out and get what you can get. I don't care if you're playing for the Akron Zips. Just get what you can get while you can get it, because it can be over, boom, like that.
It's interesting. I remember reading. I didn't read the whole book, but I read excerpts of it, and it's true. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
And it does make it hard to hear the owners crying poverty when they're throwing out some of these contracts that are so gigantic. You just have to wonder what's going on.
Well, a lot of it's not even their own money. A lot of it's just money that's come TV contracts and other deals, stuff like that, and they just. Because it's revenue sharing, they just split it up and just spend whatever. The big thing is it's been COVID crazy, and so I'm just curious about are people going to go back to the games? How much is it going to be full? Is it how are they going to figure that? Because ticket sales and merchandising it's all hand in hand.
Yeah, but none of it's going up right now. It's all going down. In this year. So there's going to be some sticker shock for a number of these franchises that stand back and say, well, we offered this guy, a $50 million a year contract. Oh my gosh, now we're not making any money. Gee, how did that happen? It's all, but they can't go to the well like they always do, which is raising ticket prices, raising advertising prices because these other companies and the fans are not going to be able to always supplement them and
even if they want to
work out their wallets.
And they probably do want to, Edward. But you just at a time like this can't raise the prices. Look what happened to Xfinity when they raised their rates. They're just getting killed on Twitter for doing that at this time.
Yeah, but they're still doing it, and I'm still friggin' paying it. Otherwise, you and I would be using tin cans to have this conversation.
That's why you got to go with the deregulation and go do capitalism at its purest form and let competition take over. Because if you raise prices too much,
let the competition cannibalize each other.
Absolutely. I mean, it's that's the American way, as they say. Right? But I'm kind of wondering about the Celtics, though. It's like, it almost seems like a mass exodus when you have these. I mean, they're not no-name guys.
No, they're not. But and I don't cover the Celtics on a day-to-day basis, so I don't know. I don't know if there's an inside story on the inside, things that they don't want to let out. I mean, I don't know if the players have tuned out, buying whatever they're selling, and
the Celtics should have made a finals by now. The group that they had should have made an NBA Finals right now, and I just think that it's not working. And when Miami proved to be a better team than them, it's time to, as they say, blow up the clown and start over again.
And even with last year, I mean, nobody saw the Toronto Raptors coming. I mean, nobody. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, bam, they are. It's a bunch of, who are these guys? And then they win the whole thing with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And a lot of Warriors injuries.
True. Well, that's true.
Yes.
Speaking of,
go ahead.
Last week when you weren't here, Vern, my parting words were, I can't wait for the Warriors to draft James Wiseman, which was great, and I'm really thrilled that we got him. But 24 hours later, the loss of Klay Thompson.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, since you weren't on Sports Econ 101 last week, did you even know that Klay got hurt?
Oh, come on.
I'm thinking this is where you get all your
this should be where you get we're the number one source.
Come on, man.
Else is secondary.
I will tell you, his house, as the crow flies, is about 3 miles from me.
Wow.
Yeah. He bought a high expensive place on Belvedere Island.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that either.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Well, maybe I'll have to drive by and wave to him. But
we happened to drive by it on the way to the polling station because that's where we had to go vote. And we're like, whoa, look at that.
It's a devastating injury for not just Klay, which obviously is huge, but for the Warriors franchise. I was saying to Edward before the show that Klay really reminds me of John Taylor for the 49ers. That, he wasn't the big guy like Joe Montana or Jerry Rice, but as a component player, the Niners would have never been as great as they were in that 80s period, the late 80s period, without John Taylor. And the Warriors can't be as great a team without Klay Thompson. He just does too many of those things that the team needs to be a championship contender like they were.
That's a pretty good analogy. Yeah, he's the John Taylor to Jerry Rice. He's Klay Thompson's the John Taylor to Stephen Curry, and just good, solid, reliable. I mean, doesn't talk much when he does. It's usually humorous in a dry, wit kind of way, and he just kind of goes about this business, and he is just a pure shooter, dead-eye, cold-blooded shooter. And I'm sad that he misses his 29th year, and I'm sad that now that he's turned 30, he's going to miss his 30th year as well.
Yeah, but it's Kelly Oubre though. I mean, I like him. I think
he's not Klay.
He's not Klay Thompson, but he's a
solid.
He's a solid. He's a good Honda.
They should call him
good, reliable. Will get you there.
They should call him Steve Austin times 10 though, because he winds up being the $60 million man. Because
is that how much he's getting?
Well, he isn't getting that much, but because he's added to the Warriors roster, the salary cap penalty is about $60 million. It turns
Yeah,
out.
but you know what, Joe Lacob, he'll just pay it. He doesn't care. I mean, he's one of those win at all costs kind of guys. He's the one. What do you think about this? He's the one that came with the idea of a whole revolutionary, COVID testing thing to get Chase Center packed. What do you guys think of that one?
We talked about it last week, and it is a big gamble because it's a lot of money spent out, and it's only going to be for half the fans in attendance.
But there's still going to be a lot of people who are just going to be nervous, about going, right? I mean, even if they get tested, even, if, there'll still be a lot of people who say, yeah, I don't want to take the risk.
Yeah, I think it's a demographic thing. I think if you're in the older demographic, you're going to go, where's the clicker? I'm just going to watch it on TV. But the younger ones that just don't care about COVID at all,
exactly,
they're going to show up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I remember, was it a couple of weeks ago? Was it, I think, Notre Dame? The
Notre Dame Clemson game, and then after the game, I did those highlights. I called it a giant petri dish.
Yeah, exactly. So thousands of fans going on.
But how many people will come if the Warriors are a 15 to 20 win team next year?
There's going to be some diehard people who just,
Yeah, because it's
not enough.
It's the Bay Area. It's an event city. So if it ain't happening, nobody's going to show up.
Exactly. You still have Steph. You can still have, the wealth of people. Okay. Here's our first trivia question in the NFL. 1968 saw the final season of this Cowboy quarterback. In his final season, he was second in yards passing and led Dallas to a 12-2 record. Who was this quarterback who wore number 17 on his back?
I know who that is.
If I didn't give you the number, would you get it?
No, I knew it before you said that.
You knew what I said. Okay. This is for Mr. Jackman because he's of the younger generation.
Yeah, I was one when that.
That's okay. Listen, I wasn't around with Bobby Lane, but I knew who he was. All right. Stay with us, Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Vern Glenn and Russell Jackman. First trivia question. 1968 saw the final season of this Cowboy quarterback. In his final season, he was second in passing, yards passing, and led Dallas to a 12-2 record. Who was this who wore number 17?
I'll answer it this way.
As he retired, did anyone ever sing to him, Turn Out the Lights?
Turn out the lights, the party's over. Yeah. Dandy Don Meredith.
Right. And in fact, when we had Craig Morton on the show a couple of years ago, we were asking him for stories. And if I remember correctly, wasn't Don Meredith the quarterback for the Cowboys when the Packers, when it was, 34 below zero? And
the Ice Bowl. Yeah, he sure was.
Bowl, yeah. And Craig had said, he goes, that was the first time. He goes, that's the first time I never wanted the coach to put me in.
No doubt.
Yeah, because they had. I think they had those heaters that were blowing on the sidelines. You didn't want to stray away from that.
No, in fact, some of the officials were losing some of their lips because
it was hard for Bart Starr and for Don Meredith to call plays because they were just so frozen.
Wow, and it's funny because we have not had a day that cold in football. We've come close. But that's still.
Oh yeah, there've been some close ones, like really cold with a wind chill factor and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's funny too because you see these, these real macho men, close to the, close to the field in the stands, and they got their shirt off. They're trying to show how manly they are, right?
Right.
But you always wonder though. They almost always have a hat on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're never barefoot. Now,
then
I'll be impressed. If they're barefoot and they have no hat on, and then they go shirtless, then I'll go, okay, now you're a man.
I'll tell you, it was impressive.
Now you'll get COVID.
I'll tell you, it was impressive. All those shots of Bud Grant, the legendary Vikings coach. No matter how cold it was, short sleeve shirts.
Well, I got a story. I got a story about that. So John Vella from the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about this one time, and he had gone from the Raiders to the Vikings in this is his later years, right? This is last year. And in practice, they're in Minnesota outside, and it's 2 degrees out or whatever.
Right.
John starts putting gloves on. This is practice, right? And he's putting gloves on, and the the offensive coordinator comes over to him and says, "Hey, John," goes, "got to take your gloves off." He goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Bud Grant, he doesn't let anybody wear gloves. Thinks it softens you." And he goes, "This is freaking practice, Come on, And I'm thinking, Bud Grant, it's like, come on, don't be so stupid. You're going to get players hurt because you're trying to be too manly. I mean, why don't you? You know what? Why don't you play without helmets too and show how manly you are? And
Bud Grant probably would if he could. He's old. Hey, he's old school, man.
Yeah, but there's a difference between old school and stupidity,
Yeah, well, yeah, good point.
I love the Vikings during the 60s and early 70s. They were with Fran Tarkenton. They were kind of one of my favorite teams. So, and, with the Purple People Eaters,
Fran Tarkenton, Joe Cap.
Yeah.
And still no rings.
No. 4 times losing. Like the Bills. But that was 4 years in a row, though. That was kind of
crazy. That's why you spell the Bills Bills.
Yeah,
good line. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Let's see. Let's continue on with football. So the Steelers, holy smokes, 10-0.
10-0, man. Yeah.
And they're playing the Ravens coming up with all those COVID cases.
They should have gotten rid of Brown and Bell much sooner. They probably could have won a couple more Super Bowls.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, say what you want, but somehow the Steelers get it done. I mean, whatever special.
Roethlisberger's magnum opus. This is like if he can't win a Super Bowl with this kind of a start, then he probably should retire because I don't think he's going to get another season like this.
I thought it was interesting that a Steeler team has never started off with a perfect record this far into the season. Never happened before till now.
Never. Yeah, not with Terry Bradshaw or any of those guys. I mean, do you think they really have a chance to go undefeated though?
Probably not. I mean, they're probably going to drop 1 or 2 along the way.
Yeah, near the end, once you've made it to the playoffs, they're going to trot out.
See, that's what I was going to ask. Like the '72 Dolphins, they didn't do stuff like that. You just played, whether or not you're trying for the an undefeated record. Which
85 49ers, lost that last game to the Rams.
Yeah,
they should have absolutely won, but they wanted to make sure that everybody would be 100% for the playoffs. You don't.
Yeah, the Patriots went to the Super Bowl unbeaten, and you saw what happened there.
Yeah, and then also the Bears. The only game they lost in '85 was to the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's really hard to keep your focus up for 16 weeks. But I would like to see the '72 Dolphins finally put away that champagne bottle because that has gotten super old.
Yeah.
Well, that's all they got to live for.
Now they're not living for them anymore.
Some of those guys
just lost another Dolphin. Who was the guy that just died this week? Who was
wasn't Bonaconte? He didn't he die? Bonaconte, or he's.
I think Nick's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Nick's gone.
No, but there was another Dolphin who died this week or earlier.
Not Larry Zonka.
No,
Zonk's around.
Zonk's around, yeah. But Bob Greasy's around. Mercury Morris is still around. Jim Kick is still around too, I think. Howard Twilley. I still remember a lot of those guys. I was like, that was a fun team to watch.
That was back when they had what was a 14-game season in 1972.
Jim Kick.
Yeah.
It was Jim Kick who just died.
Number 20, right. Number 21.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, that was my trivia question last week. Because of that, yeah.
Jim Kick, Murphy Morris, and Larry Zonka.
Yeah, man, what a backfield. And then Colin Kaepernick. So it's been almost 4 years since he played.
Incredible.
Believe that?
Yeah.
Now, with the change in attitude over the past year or so, social issues and all that, one would think that he would have been picked up. But the interesting thing, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in the NFL this year, and I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe a backup position. What about the Bengals losing their quarterback? What do you guys think about Colin?
I'm sure behind the scenes, some teams have called to kind of kick the tires a little bit. But let's just say, Edward, you're the owner of an NFL team.
Yeah.
Would you want to take that on?
You know what? I think when it first happened, the answer is no. But now, with the George Floyd and all this kind of stuff going on, it kind of seems like, I don't want to say that he'd be like you know, let's say a Patriot, or you know, like the guy we looked for, you know, specifically, but I don't think it's as much of a distraction. I mean, personally, if I'm the owner,
Well, you don't
You're
know,
missing the boat.
but here's the day-to-day operations of the team. You bring him in, okay? Let's say he's the third quarterback, so he's carrying a clipboard. All right.
Yeah.
Well, at media availability on Wednesday, what's the story? It's the number 3 quarterback, so everybody kind of gravitates to him. Nobody, yeah, I mean, yeah, you'll hear some comments from the starting quarterback. You know, the backup gets ignored, but everybody goes to Colin Kaepernick. I don't know how many weeks you want to put up with that.
well,
And the
that's,
guys are the, you know, and guys see what's going on. I mean, they know, and
I think it
people
dies out pretty quickly, though. I mean, if he's really number 3 and he
A
doesn't
lot
play,
of players, a lot of quarterbacks don't even get a 4-year career. We're talking right now 4 years that he hasn't been in the NFL.
True.
And I'd like to remind people about his last game as a 49er, which was against Chicago, where he completed 1 pass for 5 yards. That's it. That's all he accomplished. Colin had some real holes in his game that haven't been, you know, made better by 4 years away from the game. I guarantee you, he's not a better quarterback now.
oh no, absolutely not.
Yeah, well, then you just answered your question. If he's not a better quarterback now, then he's not good enough to even be on a roster right now.
I don't think he is. I don't think
Some of those guys, I don't know. You know, it's funny. You see some of these backup quarterbacks, and I mean, I guess they're not, since they're not calling the plays. You know, you look and you go, oh, they go in there and all they do is just hand off right up the middle.
Well, Edward, here's what happens in practice. If you're the backup quarterback, you don't get any of the first string reps. You get maybe 1 or 2 when it's time to put in the game plan. But your QB1, he gets almost all of the snaps in practice. So for a backup to be able to get any kind of action, it's on the day of the game if the starting quarterback goes down.
But during practice, though, aren't there enough players that, I mean, he's not going to just sit around just throwing the ball and that's it. I mean, he's got to take some snaps. Otherwise, he might as well go on vacation.
No, but they'll run scout offense too against number 1 defense when they go 11 on 11 in practice.
Sure, and that's what I'm saying is that, I mean, he's still going to have some practice. He may not have the starters blocking for him and all that.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's not going to have command of the scripted first 15 plays of the game and just rattle them off. And you got to know where everybody is on every play.
And also keep in mind that what made Colin Kaepernick a great quarterback was not his arm, but his legs.
It was his legs. Yes.
And so unless you're going to run a wildcat type offense, and who runs one now? You know, maybe Baltimore. You know, maybe the Cardinals, and maybe Seattle. You don't have that kind of like running quarterback running the show these days. And
all right, hey guys,
Colin's just a throwback to a different era that doesn't exist anymore.
All right, second trivia question: who was the first head coach to win 4 Super Bowls? Boom, that's just your question. All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. Be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because my co-hosts here are thinking, ooh, what kind of a trick question is he asking?
Yeah, you never ask anything simple.
I'm Edward Brown, along with Vern Glenn and Russell Jackman. Second trivia question. Listen very carefully. Who was the first head coach to win 4 Super Bowls?
The first head coach to win 4 Super Bowls.
It sounds too simple to be.
It sounds too simple to say Chuck Noll of the Steelers.
Mr. Jackman, what is your?
I'm going to say Don Shula. I'm going to go.
And
I'm going to say Chuck Noll.
And Vern would be right. Chuck Noll. It wasn't a trick question.
I don't think it.
It's just a simple boom. It was the first head coach.
Damn, a straight line. You got me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes I ask these really hard trick. Like, okay, here's and Vern, don't say anything yet.
Okay, all right.
Jackman, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What was his given first name?
Lou Alcindor.
No. Mr. Vern Glenn.
His given name?
Yeah.
I thought it was Louis Alcindor.
No, I asked this once before. His given first name was Ferdinand.
Ferdinand.
Ferdinand
I
is
did
Lou
not
Alcindor.
know that. And
We all know him as Lou Alcindor, but his given first name was Ferdinand. That's probably why he
Wow.
went by Lou. You know?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one, huh?
You got
That's
us
a very
both.
good one.
That's a good one.
Got us both.
Okay. And yeah, the next trivia question, I didn't know the answer to this one, so we'll see how well.
Even looking at the answer, he didn't know what the answer was.
Exactly. It's like I couldn't win the winner. I couldn't pick the winner of a one-horse race. And then the last thing I had here for basketball, the NCAA. What's going to happen this year? Seems like it's
NCAA
Basketball.
football, basketball. Well, I mean, already games are being canceled. Duke's game got canceled last week, and I guess come hell or high water, they're just gonna try this thing.
They're talking about having it all in one spot too.
The NCAA tournament in one spot in Indianapolis. How about that? How about that's round the clock action there?
Wow.
Dude, I can't think of anything. Well, I can think of a couple places worse to be stuck for a couple months, but it's only a handful of places that I'd less want to be than Indianapolis for like 2 months.
Hey, you know what? Indianapolis gets a knock, but you know what? From a user friendly status, makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you've ever been to Indianapolis.
Yeah,
everything is close. You don't need a car. Everything is right there.
Oh.
And great steakhouses.
When you say everything, you're talking everything that Indianapolis has to offer,
3 things.
which is not much.
Well, I mean, with respect to Lucas Oil Stadium, which would be where they would have the NCAA tournament, and then just a couple of blocks away is just all the hotels, all the restaurants. It's just right there. I'm just talking about logistics.
Not about interest. Yeah. Because
but
I've driven through Indianapolis twice, and I couldn't wait to get out of there when I was.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, not my kind of town.
Did you go to into the winter time or the summer?
Summer.
So was it just hot and sticky, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And boring. Let me just now. Lucas Oil Stadium hadn't been built then. But
did you go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway right outside?
Yeah, I don't care about motor. If you haven't noticed, I've never talked about NASCAR or any kind of driving sports because I have zero interest in it.
In fact, I was going to put this as sort of a note here. I didn't do it, but I was reading, I think it was yesterday, that this was like the 120th anniversary or something for the first major race with autos, and the winner, guess how many miles per hour they won? Like nowadays,
60.
It's what, 180?
You talking about the average speed?
Yeah, the average speed.
What was it?
70?
No. 7 miles per hour. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was just.
Usain Bolt runs faster than that.
Yeah.
But not for 500 miles.
No, it wasn't. No, we're not talking about the Indianapolis 500. This was a 50. It was like a 56-mile race between one part of Chicago and somewhere else. I can't remember.
That's my daily commute.
7 miles?
No, the 50 miles. Is
that's
okay.
right. Now it is. Yeah.
Actually,
Actually, each way, right?
yeah. So,
Whoa.
and I'll tell you, I don't do it at 7 miles per hour, although sometimes it feels like it.
Well, I remember I had a friend. Now, the traffic's worse now than it was back in the 80s. But I had a friend who he loved living where he lived. He loved working where he worked. But unfortunately, he lived in Sacramento and he worked in Redwood City.
Ooh.
I get
Wow.
that.
And he did that for like 2 years.
Oof.
And there was no train to take or anything like that. He had to literally drive it.
Wow. Wow. I don't envy that.
No,
Such a schlep.
that's at least 2 hours each way,
Yeah.
minimum. I don't care what time. Even if you go and start off at midnight, it's going to take you that long. How long does it take?
No, but I would hitch a ride with the guy if he was still doing it because it's I have to get down to Redwood City. Yeah.
How long does it take you to get down there and back?
Like an hour and 15.
That's about right.
And
That's with
not
no
that
traffic because of COVID.
Yeah.
I'm really worried about what's going to happen when things get back to normal, quote unquote.
Yeah, whenever that is.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever that.
Well,
is.
interestingly enough, and I'm not sure if I told you guys this, but I talked to, and I think it was like the CFO of some Fortune 500 company, when COVID was still, I mean, it was really kind of going strong, like in June, right?
It's still going strong.
I know, but I mean, it's not like it's like it was still like it was a. I mean, yes,
novel concept.
It wasn't like, oh, we see a lot of decrease in cases and so we're loosening up. But he and I were talking. I said, I'm going to guess ahead of time. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. But I said, in the beginning, shelter in place, work from home, not a too big an issue. But I said, I got to think that you guys are starting to notice that productivity is going down and efficiency. Even Zoom calls are great, but if you can't watch what people are doing and they're not in the office, they'll take a break, have a beer, go play with the kids, blah blah blah. And he says, oh yeah, we've already started noticing that. And that was in June, right? From March to June, he says we're already having people come back to work in the office. Now they don't have their social distancing, their protocol, and all that, but this idea of oh well, yeah, no problem, just work from home. These big companies are going to notice that's not working, and so back to normal of going back to work is going to happen. In fact, I know a guy. Well, he was. I've got a building where the CEO, his company owns the building next to mine, but he needed to expand, so he took over my building.
Mm-hmm.
That was in December, so this is before COVID, right? And I was a little concerned when COVID came. It's like, oh no, am I going to be in a situation where I'm not going to get rent, and et cetera, et cetera. And I called him when this was going, like really first breaking out, like let's say in April, right? And I said, hey, David, I said, kind of curious as to what's going on with your company. And he said, Edward, actually, I'm really thankful that we expanded and took over your building because it allowed us to have social distancing where people.
Oh.
So unlike places like, let's say, theaters where they had to just like either you're open or you're not open.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, he was able to expand. So, a lot of people kind of talk about that where, a lot of vacancy and all that, but I don't know. There may be kind of a interesting situation where people actually need more office space just for the purpose of being able to have the distance.
Yeah, but how many companies can afford more office space? That's the thing. And
Well,
if you're a mom and pop business, so to speak, it's writings on the wall.
Yeah.
Let's get that vaccine out. That's I think what everybody's really hoping for is that the vaccine has works.
And rent prices are going down in some areas, just for that reason, right? If you need more space but you can't afford it, you renegotiate. So are you going to be the first one to sign up for the vaccine there, Mr. Jackman?
Well, I'd like to see how some people react to it. First of all, it really should be reserved for like the emergency personnel and the people who are on the front lines trying to save everybody.
Yeah, the essential folks. They
Absolutely.
should be the first to get it. Yeah.
And as soon as I make sure that they don't have a third eye growing, then we'll start to talk about that.
Being an at-risk person, I would like to be considered for it when it is ready. But so far, I've stayed pretty healthy in this whole thing. So I'm glad. I've tried to do what I can to make sure that I'm safe and that my family.
Yeah, but Dr. Fauci always cautions, hey, once you get to a point where you think about maybe letting your guard down a little bit, boom.
Well, that's true. I mean, because once you let it down, once you get it, who knows what's going to happen afterwards.
Yeah.
I think I've already been there and done that. Now, whether or not I can get another strain, because we were on a cruise in January, and we were with a lot of Europeans who were sick. And we started to feel sick, like right toward the end of the cruise and getting on the airplane. And I remember, I go, this feels like a weird flu that I've never had before. And I remember both my eyeballs hurting and feeling like really tired and going, I had all these classic symptoms of some people in the beginning who were basically, who had COVID.
So you think you've had it?
I think I've had it.
Yeah.
And, I got over it. Now, again, I was not in the high risk, or diabetes or high blood pressure or lung disease. Even though I used to have asthma, I don't think I have it anymore. So I don't think I'm at risk as much as some other people. So,
but here's the question: as badly as you felt at its worst, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being just
like really,
give me the needle, I'm out of here. I mean,
honestly,
how bad did you feel?
maybe 6.
6?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I chose to stay home for a couple of days, realizing that if I go to the office, I'm gonna, potentially make other people sick. Again, not knowing COVID or anything, but just the idea of, hey, if you got a flu, you stay home. And just realizing, the best way to get over this thing is just to rest, drink water, and do the typical things that I would have done for the flu. And I was still kind of tired afterward, because that usually happens after the flu anyway.
Right.
Don't get a chance.
It still could have just been the flu after all that. You never really got tested, so you don't really know.
Correct. No, that's true. I don't know for sure, but it's just kind of interesting how, it started off in Europe, right? And this was January when, just before really things happened, and a lot of people were sick. And I showed the same kind of signs as a lot of people who got COVID. It's like, I just wouldn't be surprised. Let's put it that way.
Would you take a vaccine if it were available?
I would. I would.
The answer right now, today, is no.
I would.
No.
I'll go yes. And in the vein as we're talking, it's come to the point now where at work now, we have to get tested once a week.
Yeah.
I'm having, it's right after this show, I gotta go get tested.
Yeah.
And when you think of all the athletes who are getting sick, it's probably a good idea, because you have no choice but to be exposed to those folks.
Yeah, and like where I'm at, there's hardly anybody here, so I completely get. And I'm not anti what everyone else is doing on that. It's just for me, especially since I think I probably got it. Whether there'll be another strain of it, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, that's another point too.
So don't kiss me. Don't kiss me. Okay. All right. Here's
None of that, and wear a mask. Yeah.
Get it through the Zoom. Oh no, I'm gonna get it. Okay. Here's the third trivia question. Which St. Louis Ram rookie quarterback set a record in 1996 for his 21 fumbles in the season? So this is not a record you want to have. And I kind of just barely remember this guy, so he's not a household name. But
a Rams rookie quarterback.
I remember him too.
1996, 21 fumbles. So it was not Kurt Warner. Okay, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back with some closing comments. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, Edward Brown here, along with Russell Jackman and Vern Glenn. The third trivia question we had was, which St. Louis Ram rookie quarterback set a record in 1996 for his 21 fumbles in the season? And Russell, you think you remember?
Is it Vincent Blake or
no?
And
it wasn't Vince Ferragamo either.
No, not Ferragamo.
Wow. Who was this guy? Now I'm intrigued.
Tony Banks.
Tony Banks.
I remember Tony Banks.
I mean, I do
Tony Banks.
remember him.
I believe he wore number 12, I think. Yeah. Tony.
And he continued to fumble throughout his career, and I think he has one of the largest fumbles per game of any quarterback.
It's got to be either him or David Craig, and I think it's because these guys have small hands. And that football.
I remember Vincent. I remember.
But I'm trying to remember the nature of the fumble. Was it a fumble, snap, exchange, handoff, just running, slips out, knocked out of his hand? I'm trying.
A lot of it was in the exchange. I remember those that he would drop it. Yeah, he would drop it under pressure too. Anytime that anyone was rushing him, he would just bobble the ball and
probably got clocked a couple of times, and that'll kind of gunshot.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for our thoughts for the day?
Let's go.
Because I want to say that my fantasy team is now 6-5. I've won 4 games in a row. Last 2 weeks, I was the highest scoring guy in my league. So my misfortunes from the Dallas Cowboy loss to the Cardinals has been reversed.
Turn around. All right.
Yeah, that's pretty good, because last weekend that was a bad weekend for betting against the spread.
Yeah.
No, I'm on fire. I'm on fire.
All right. We'll see how you do next week. Okay. It's important to pay attention to the election signs in front yards. Last time I voted for a real estate agent. Okay. And be kind to your dentist. He has fillings too.
Oh, that's
that? All right.
That's a straight up dad joke right there. That's a good one.
He has his hand on the laughing gas.
All right. Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
Good night, America.
Oh.